Now, we bumped into a couple of times the word Hadith, the writings of Islam. Robert Morey states in his book, The Islamic Invasion, does an excellent job. Introduction. While most people understand that the Bible of the Muslims is called the Quran, they do not generally know that the religion of Islam has other sacred writings, which are viewed by Muslims as being just as inspired and authoritative as the Quran. This other Islamic Bible is called the Hadith. It is a collection of early Muslim traditions which record the words and deeds of Muhammad according to his wives, family members, friends, and Muslim leaders, which are not usually found in the Quran. The inspired Hadith. The Muslim scholar Dr. Hamidullah, in his book Introduction to Islam, states that the custodian and repository of the original teachings of Islam are found above all in the Quran and the Hadith. To this he adds that the Quran and the Hadith are the basis of all Islamic law. The reason, according to Dr. Hamidullah, that Muslims revere the Hadith as well as the Quran is that the Hadith is as divinely inspired as the Quran itself. So he says, the teachings of Islam are based primarily on the Quran and the Hadith, and, as we shall presently see, both are boasted on divine inspiration. Now, the Bible says it's divinely inspired, and I don't go by what it says, the Bible. I go now, after all these years, by what the Bible proves. The Bible proves itself out. It claims to be divinely inspired, and so far as I've found, not one single error, complete corroboration, supernatural book, transmitted down through the ages perfectly in thousands, tens of thousands of documents, all corroborating it. We can pinpoint some of the errors with no problem at all. So what we have is the original text and the original message without error. That's inspired. The Quran, not so inspired. It falls apart at careful, close examination. The teaching of Islam, he says, are based primarily on the Quran and the Hadith, and, as we shall presently see, both are boasted on divine inspiration without proof and any evidence. This is why Muslim writers such as Hamidullah Abdelastati, in his book Islam in Focus, the Muslim Converts Association of Singapore, state that the Hadith is considered the second source of Islam because all the articles of faith are based upon and derived from the teachings of the Quran and the traditions, the Hadith of Muhammad. Let's investigate. Thus, it is no surprise to find that the material in the Hadith is considered inspired and authoritative to Orthodox Muslims. The translations we will use. We are using the 9-volume translation of the Hadith made by Dr. Muhammad Muhsin Khan, entitled The Translation of the Meaning of Sahih al-Bukhari. It is recommended and approved by all Muslim authorities, including the spiritual heads of Mecca and Medina. Based on al-Bukhari, Dr. Khan's work is a faithful translation of the Hadith put together by none other than the greatest of all Hadith scholars, al-Bukhari. The introduction states, it has been unanimously agreed that Imam Bukhari's work is the most authentic of all the other works in Hadith literature put together. The authenticity of al-Bukhari's work is such that the religious learned scholar of Islam said concerning him, the most authentic book after the book of Allah, the Quran, is Sahih al-Bukhari. He only chose approximately 7,275 hadiths, of which there is no doubt about their authenticity. Allah revealed to him the glorious Quran and the second inspiration, his traditions. It is incumbent upon you to strive hard to do righteous deeds according to the traditions of Muhammad as is clearly expressed in his Hadith. Dr. Khan does not hesitate to describe the Hadith as the second inspiration and to state that it is incumbent upon every Muslim to believe and to obey it. The Muslim dilemma. The reason that we went to such lengths to prove the highest religious authorities of Islam view the Hadith as being inspired and authoritative is that many Muslims will deny this when confronted with some of the obviously absurd teachings of Muhammad. In one radio program, one Muslim caller argued in a circle as follows. Muhammad was Allah's prophet. Therefore, he could not have said something so stupid as to suggest that we should drink camel urine. Thus you are a liar, Dr. Morey. The Hadith cannot say this. After I went on, Dr. Morey says, after I went on to prove from the Hadith that Muhammad did indeed recommend camel urine, he responded, we Muslims only recognize the Holy Quran as God's book. We do not accept the Hadith as inspired. They changed their minds. Of course, we had to deny the inspiration of the Hadith in order to avoid having to defend Muhammad on the drinking of urine. We understand the dilemma of modern Muslims. While they desperately want to maintain that Muhammad was Allah's prophet, apostle, yet the Hadith clearly reveals that Muhammad could not be inspired because he taught many things which are not only patently wrong, but absurd. The final straw. To the Western mind, the material found in the Hadith is the proverbial final straw that breaks the camel's back. If Muhammad was truly a prophet and an apostle, then Muslims must defend the indefensible. Okay, point 2. On the Quran and the Hadith. The Quran was written in heaven according to Hadith number 643, volume 9. Thus no earthly pre-Islamic sources for the material found in the Quran should exist. But they do exist in great abundance. Interesting. Well, so many absurdities. What do you want? Thus it is no surprise to find that the Quran was written in the Quraysh dialect. This fact is often not known by non-Arab Muslims. The Quran, after Muhammad's death, was scattered on palm leaves, rocks, and bones. Thus, the Hadith itself bears witness to the fact that Muhammad did not prepare a manuscript of the Quran before his death. As a matter of fact, the Hadith confirms that the Quran was put together by the Caliph Uthman after Muhammad died. This point is often denied by those Muslims who are ignorant of their own scriptures. Uthman got the Quran compiled and sent a few of the copies to far-off places. Uthman wrote the manuscripts of the whole Quran in the form of a book. See also volume 6, numbers 507 and 510. When Uthman finished his version of the Quran, the Hadith records that he tried to destroy all the conflicting Qurans. This is clear proof that there were conflicting versions of the Quran. The fact that the Quran is missing certain verses and that other verses were abrogated is admitted in the Hadith in volume 4. The Hadith even records that when certain people died, these portions of the Quran known only to them perished with them. Wow. The Hadith records that Muhammad at times was bewitched and said and saw things under satanic inspiration. This admission on the part of the Hadith destroys in principle the Muslim claim that Muhammad was infallibly inspired. Since it is admitted that Muhammad at times did and said things under satanic inspiration, then this is in principle calls into question everything he did and said. Like the Quran, the Hadith puts speeches into the mouths of biblical characters such as Noah, Moses, and Jesus, which they could not have spoken because of the vocabulary used, the doctrines taught, the historical references made, and so on. They are clearly fraudulent. The Hadith admits that it has variant readings and contradictory Hadiths. The translator admits in a footnote, verse 3, volume 3, Hadith number 159 contradicts the Hadith of Al-Husan. Like the Quran, some Hadiths were canceled or abrogated. Well, on apostasy, the Hadith makes the repeated claim that no one ever leaves Islam. He then asks, does anybody amongst those who embraces Muhammad's religion, become displeased and renounce the religion afterwards? I replied, no. Then it contradicts itself by saying that death is the punishment for those who leave. The Prophet said if somebody, a Muslim, discard his religion of Islam, kill him. It even records the murders of those who left Islam for another religion. Volume 9 of the Hadith has an entire section dedicated to warning those who would leave Islam that they will be murdered. So, wherever you find them, kill them, or for whoever kills them shall have a reward on the day of resurrection. Total absurdities. On Jews and churches and Christians, Muhammad taught that the Jews worshipped Ezra and the Son of Allah, just as Christians worship Jesus as the Son of Allah. He was wrong on both counts. Muhammad said any Jews or Christians who heard about me and did not believe in me and what was revealed to me of the Holy Quran and my traditions, his ultimate destination is the hellfire. According to Hadith number 414, volume 2, Muhammad said, Allah cursed the Jews and the Christians because they took the graves of their prophets as places for worship. Muhammad on women. Muhammad taught that the majority of the people in hell were women. The prophet said, I was shown the hellfire and that the majority of its dwellers were women. The reason for the majority of the people in hell were women is stated in volume 2, 541 as follows, O women, I have not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you. Muhammad believed that women were deficient in intelligence and thus they should not be given equal rights under Islamic law. For example, he legislated that a woman's testimony in court was worth only half of that of a man. Thus, it would take the testimony of 2 women to offset the testimony of 1 man. Imagine what this would do to women who were raped. And the prophet said, isn't the witness of a woman equal to half of that of a man? The woman said, yes, he said, this is because of the deficiency of a woman's mind. Muhammad even ruled that women are to receive only half of what their brothers receive in inheritance. Thus, women are financially punished for being females. Perhaps the most degrading picture of women is that paradise will have beautiful women whose only purpose is to satisfy the sexual urges of men, chained to different corners. What a great eternity for women. The statement of Allah, beautiful women restrained and chained in pavilions. Allah's apostle said, in paradise there is a pavilion made up of a single hollow pearl, 60 miles wide. In each corner there are wives who will not see those in the other corners, and the believers will visit and enjoy them. Wow, how cruel. On urine and feces. Muhammad had a psychological obsession with urine and feces. In fact, he spent a great deal of time teaching on where, when, and how to urinate and defecate. He was so obsessed with the subject that he taught that if someone got urine on his clothes or body, they would suffer hellfire in the afterlife. One of the major sins is not to protect oneself, one's clothing and body, from one's urine, from being soiled with it. Once the prophet, while passing one of the graveyards of Medina or Mecca, heard the voices of 2 persons being tortured in the graves. The prophet then added, yes, they are being tortured for a major sin. Indeed, one of them never saved himself from being soiled with his urine. According to volume 2, number 443, Muhammad said that people are tortured in hellfire because they soil themselves with urine. Yet at the same time, Muhammad ordered people to drink camel urine mixed in milk as medicine. So the prophet ordered them to go to the herd of camels and to drink their milk and urine as a medicine? Really? The rules for urination and defecation are as follows. This is rather disgusting. You must not face Mecca when urinating or defecating. You must not use your right hand to hold or wipe yourself. You must wash your privates after going to the bathroom. Muhammad's belief or not, Muhammad taught many things which seem to the modern reader to be patently absurd. Some of his beliefs were so far out that no one today could possibly accept or defend them. Yet we recognize that sincere Muslims must do so or give up their claim that he was Allah's apostle. We understand their difficulty. How can they defend the indefensible? How can they justify what is so obviously absurd? This is the crux of the matter. The following teachings of Muhammad are a partial list of some of the strange things he taught to his disciples. The Colossus Adam. In Hadith number 543, the Prophet said, Allah created Adam, making him 60 cubits tall. This would make Adam about 90 feet tall. Was Adam really as tall as a 3-story building? How tall was Eve and their children, and why are we not that tall? How could he stand it if he were that heavy? Does not the science of human anatomy tell us that Adam could not have been 60 cubits tall? What Muslim is prepared to defend Muhammad's 90-foot Adam? The fly in the cup. If a fly falls into your cup, do not worry about it, because Muhammad said that while one wing has the disease, the other has the antidote, so drink up. No dogs allowed. Angels will not enter a house if a dog is there, according to volume 4, 539. Thus, Hadith number 540, volume 4 reads, Allah's apostle ordered that dogs should be killed. Dog lovers would not make good Muslims. Islamic genetics. Muhammad claimed that Gabriel gave him the secret as to why a child looks like its father or its mother. The answer was given to prove that Muhammad was Allah's apostle. He declared, as for the resemblance of the child to its parents, if a man has sexual intercourse with his wife and gets the discharge first, the child will resemble the father. And if the woman gets her discharge first, the children will resemble her. What modern Muslim is prepared to prove that one's discharge and not genetics is the key to the physical characteristics of one's children? Stars as missiles. The stars were created by Allah as missiles to throw at the devils, according to Muhammad in volume 2, chapter 3.